Okay, Promise Neverland. So Promise Neverland is going into Promise Neverland is going into the sus category. Not because I didn't like it. No, not because it's not like a Christian story. I don't think Promise Neverland is sort of a. I think it can be a Christian story, right? Like I think you have to you can look at it that way, but like Promise Neverland dropped the ball in season 2, and I'm a little tight because they did that, right? I'm tight that season 2 got rushed, and so it kind of made the story that could have been so good, right? Like first, like okay, if you've never watched Promise Neverland is pretty much like you have this orphanage type setting, and you have this mom, sort of like head like master that's running the place, watching over these children, right? And at a certain time, when they get older or whatever, they end up being able to leave the orphanage and everything, and you never see them again. But the thing is, none of the kids are able to go out of the orphanage, basically. And so like it's a really like it's a mystery. It's like sort of like a, I guess could you call it a thriller? It's like a psychological thriller maybe. But it's like at the end, like you kind of find out that these kids are being fed to the demon world. For some reason, humans and demons have made a pact together. And that pact is that you have these farms that are in orphanages or whatever that are pretty much growing children. They're growing children, and they're being fed to demons. I don't really like that. Like, I don't. First of all, I don't like it, mainly because like you had that, right? Eventually, like they end up overcoming, they end up like escaping, and then you have like this sort of like, the main character be like a freedom fighter in a way of trying to make peace between the demon world and the human world. But it's sus, and I don't want anyone thinking that Christians need to try to make peace with demons. And so it's going in the sus category, and also mainly because season 2 just sucked. So yeah, it's going to the sus category. Maybe you guys have watched 7 Deadly Sins. 7 Deadly Sins is going into the sus category. I lost track of, so was it the 10 Commandments when they were fighting the 10 Commandments, or who were they fighting? I forgot. But like when they started getting into like her name, Elizabeth, her being like a reincarnation of like of a certain angel or whatever, and like Meliodas being the demon king. Like obviously I watching the anime, I was like, okay, bet, like I understand that this is the lore that they're dealing with, right? But like I think it's just a weird thing of this, like you had this like little kid Meliodas, who's actually technically like what, thousands of years old, right? Like he is continuing to live, but like Elizabeth dies continuously. Like she's continued to die in all these different lifetimes. She keeps reincarnating, and then like him and Elizabeth have this like 1,000-year-long like love affair. That's kind of sus to me, and I don't really like that. And because like there are just certain Christians that are already like kind of have this weird, there are some Christians that have this weird idea with anime being a certain type of influence. I'm gonna put that John in the sus category, and honestly, I'm gonna say, yeah, it definitely got to go there. Point. Neon Genesis Evangelion. No. So here, like, okay. First of all, Neon Genesis at least the original series and end of Evangelion, I thought it was good. I thought it was interesting how they dealt with depression and thinking about life and thinking about purpose and identity and thinking about all these different things that I think the human person thinks about. The way they go about it is very interesting. I think like and you can see this in my in my 3 reasons like why I don't think Christians should watch Neon Genesis. I think the imagery that they use as far as the Christian biblical imagery, I think they don't mean anything necessarily by it, but it's like I think if you're looking at it, you could see like, oh, like why are they taking this and twisting it to mean something it's not? And I get that. I think when it comes to like, I think as being someone like that can view things in a creative way, I could be like, oh, but I can see like how you use that to be creative and make a spin on like the in the mecha genre at the time. But like, I think it could just be confusing, especially for newer Christians when it comes to Neon Genesis and like them talking about how people came into the world, how human beings got here, talking about Adam and Lilith, seeing the Christian imagery and the crosses, like having instead of angels, like not even like, and the thing about Neon Genesis doesn't make a distinction between good angels and bad angels. It just the angels are just enemies of the human race, right? And I think as being someone who like does care about like Christians that watch this, especially like younger Christians that do watch anime and they have like questions and things like that, man, I don't think you should. I don't think it would be a good idea for Christians to watch Neon Genesis. Not saying that you shouldn't, not saying you can't. Like you could do whatever you want. Like I'm not your dad. I'm just like, I might not watch Neon Genesis again, right? Unless I'm gonna do like an analysis video on it. But Neon Genesis is wild to me. I think the thing I didn't like about Neon Genesis, one of the things I didn't like, obviously, and I've been talking about this. It's a different world. I think I've been talking about this in my past Neon Genesis videos. Is like, I don't think Neon Genesis, and especially that scene, that hospital scene with with Shinji and Asuka, I don't think I feel like that wouldn't survive today. Now, Chainsaw Man kind of did something like this. I haven't read the manga of Chainsaw Man. I haven't read the manga of Chainsaw Man, but like I was seeing YouTubers talk about videos of this, and like I'm like, what are we doing? Like, I don't know, is weird. And also it's just like I wrote a I was a religion major in college, and I dealt a lot with like philosophy and religion, and talked about those things and had arguments with people and stuff like that. But like I think Neon Genesis, like from the creator, when him going through depression and stuff, which it makes sense, right? And I think people that are questioning their like identity and purpose and things like that, like they go through a lot of different avenues to be able to like figure out those things. Neon Genesis, like they throw together all this stuff and verbiage, philosophical verbiage that most people don't necessarily understand. And the thing, and what I'm realizing about Neon Genesis and maybe fans of Neon Genesis is that it's like, oh, like you just don't understand Evangelion, or you don't understand Neon Genesis. So it's like, no, I understand. Is it necessary? You know what I mean? I think there are some. I'm pretty sure that there are some anime that like kind of explain identity and purpose without having to throw all these like philosophy words for like a grad level student out there into the mix. Now I think Neon Genesis like deals like Mob Psycho. What other anime here? that I think it deals with a lot of different things that yeah, Neon Genesis goes into sus for that, exactly for that category. Like nah, yeah, Neon Genesis gotta it gonna stay there, it's gonna stay there. um but yeah, I think Christians should watch it? Probably not. If you do watch it, watch it at your own risk for sure. Okay. Let me see. Let me get a few there. Fairy Tale goes into the sus category. Even though I'm a big fan of Fairy Tale, I'm a big fan of Fairy Tale. Obviously, there's a lot of like sexual innuendo in it. A lot of sus things in it. I think it's hilarious. I think I did this. I did a video on Fairy Tale for Geek Devotions, and I like, for me, when I watched it in college, I really loved it because it was funny, it was relatable. No, it was funny. It was like the desire for friendship and wanting to have a people behind you and community. I think those things are things that Christians need. But I think when it comes to a lot of like, when we're talking about over exaggerated female features and a little bit of like, not full on nudity, but it's like there's a lot of crash jokes and things like that, which I think maybe if you're not mature in your Christian faith, I would say like, yeah, I would say you probably shouldn't watch it as a Christian person. But I liked it. I'm actually pretty excited for 100-Year Quest that's coming out, which may have already came out, but Kill I Kill, no, heck no, not at all. Let me tell you why. 4 years ago, I watched Kill La Kill, and I was like, why is it when these women get stronger? And granted, I've only watched like 2 episodes, and because of the 2 episodes where like pretty much they were dang near naked when it came to them like getting stronger and getting powers and stuff like that, I was like, bro, like if my mom walks in on me, she's gonna be like, yo, what the heck are you watching? And so it's a no for me, dog.